Hey guys, what is going on? So I wanted to talk about how my cut is going after a couple weeks. Obviously, I'm also back on Turkesterone, so I'll address some of those things. I do have some body scans to compare, both from the start of my cut as well as kind of my peak back when I was kind of firing on all cylinders. So I will talk about, those comparisons and stuff, and then address some questions related to cutting, Turkesterone, stuff like that. So first thing I do want to talk about before I get into the scans is I just got a question maybe like 10 minutes ago, and I get questions like this a lot, especially pertaining to, how it can relate to Turkesterone. And the question is, can you gain strength and size on a cut? And the answer is 100%. You can, absolutely. Obviously, getting size might be a little bit more difficult, but it's not like your body, tallies all your calories. And if you're in a surplus, only then can you gain muscle, and vice versa, right? That's not how the body works. They are different kind of processes, and just straight up, that's not how it works. Now, in terms of strength, I literally have evidence on this channel. There's no need to go and look at it, but I think I've gained strength in every cut I've ever done in my life. So those are obviously tangible numbers that you can 100% say I've gained strength, and that's typically how I approach my training. Is I build muscle in a caloric surplus, and then in a deficit, I usually add strength by focusing on strength training. So to put that to rest. Now, how does that pertain to Turkesterone? So I get this question a lot. I do not have experience up until now, and I'm going to kind of go over that, of cutting on Turkesterone. I haven't done it yet. This is my first time. A lot of people actually have kind of come into my comments and said that they've retained their strength, or, they've, been able to retain their muscle or whatever on a cut. That seems to be a very difficult strategy, or, not something that really happens for most people. Usually people lose a lot of muscle and strength. That doesn't happen for me. So, I think it's the way that I approach my training when I do cut. But at the end of the day, I've had way more people talk about their experience on Turkesterone in a maintenance or cutting phase, and it seems like it helps them out a lot. So I would guess that Turkesterone just adds to that ability to potentially gain muscle, and absolutely you can gain strength on a cut if you do it the right way. So that's probably, and I'm going to be experimenting with that with myself, but obviously, as I've said before, I usually almost always gain strength on a cut, so I don't think that's going to be an issue for me. So anyway, getting into the numbers. So this is my comparison of my numbers from like 2 weeks ago, March 27th. So if you look here, I've lost 2 pounds of fat, which is about a pound a week, and gained 1 pound of lean mass. So this is nothing crazy. Obviously, I was injured, and so my lean mass is lower than it was kind of at the peak. I had a period where I had a shoulder injury, a back injury, and then a hip injury, right? So all that kind of led me to lose a little bit of muscle as well as water weight. I wasn't taking creatine, so, all that good stuff. So kind of surprised I've only gained 1 pound of lean mass, but I'm sure that will kind of go up over time as, my muscles get saturated with creatine, as I continue to kind of build that muscle back that I could have potentially lost in the short term. Fat mass is down a little bit, obviously. So, looking pretty good. I have, not been going too hard on like a calorie deficit. If you look here, my shoulders are actually down a bit, and I will kind of touch on that in a second, because I think that's kind of a really weird point. Arms, they tend to fluctuate, but I have, been working my arms a bit, do them every day, so they could be a little bit more swollen here. Chest is flat, waist is the same. Stomach and hips are down, which is usually where I'll kind of store some fat. And an interesting point here, this is kind of the area that I want to touch on the most, is leg development. So my legs are up. They're kind of getting close to all-time high levels. And one thing that you'll notice as I go into my scans from my peak, my highest muscle that I had a couple months ago, is that I did have a back injury, which prevented me from kind of like squatting heavy and stuff like that. And, that could have hindered my leg development when I was at my highest lean body mass ever a couple months ago when I was on Turkesterone. So that's kind of my main focus on this cut, is in terms of muscle growth, is to build my legs up to a level that they've never been before. And I do actually plan to eventually get back into squatting. Right now I'm not squatting, I'm just doing machines, and I'm doing like leg press and stuff like that. But I will get back into squatting eventually, and I do plan to hit a PR. So it has been literally years since I've hit a squat PR. So I'm guessing I'm going to go for that number. Hopefully I've, built some muscle and some strength over that time period, but I just haven't really been prioritizing legs the way that I used to. But My legs are pretty much at all-time high levels right now after just barely getting back into the gym. I think they are ready for growth, and I think my legs are going to kind of be the key for me to potentially get to an all-time high lean body mass, which a lot of people might think is crazy. That's my goal. That's the way that I'm approaching this cut, is I'm planning to build muscle during the cuts and reach an all-time high lean body mass. So might sound crazy. We'll see what happens. Maybe it's the turkesterone that'll help. I don't know, but that is my goal. And that's the way that I approach these things, is I try to improve in my cuts, and I don't accept my fate and say, oh, I'm going to lose all this size and strength. That's not how I approach them. And I think that's a key thing that I want to emphasize, is that when you are cutting, a lot of people just accept that they're going to be weak and they cut their carbs and they do all this stuff. I don't cut my carbs. I actually keep my carbs as high as I can for as long as I can. And obviously the way that I strength train as well allows me to gain strength in a cut. So legs are up. And then if you look, throughout my upper, lower thighs, and even my calves are up over this, short period of time. It's kind of been the thing that I've been emphasizing the most, but obviously I'm working my entire body. Now, if you look at, so January 31st, this is my highest lean body mass I've ever had in my entire life. This is about 6 pounds more lean body mass than I had prior to taking turkesterone. So, this is like my peak form. That being said, January 31st, like I said, I did have a back injury that prevented me from being able to squat, and therefore I could actually have even added more if my legs were a bit more developed here, but I was, prevented from squatting in this position. So if you look here, my lean mass is down from this time period. Obviously I got injured, was off creatine, off turkesterone, all that stuff. So it makes sense that I lost some lean mass. Some of that is water weight, some of that is muscle. My fat mass is about the same, which is really good to see. I didn't feel especially fat at this time period, so it's good to know that I'm kind of at that level, and I'm on a cut, so this is only going to get better over time. The craziest thing is shoulders. So for those of you who have been following for a while, the biggest change in my physique when I took turkesterone when I was bulking was my shoulders. They just blew up. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I was doing a lot of shoulder work, but they blew up to a pretty significant degree. And that's why I was really excited to kind of see my overhead press gains, because, I was planning to ramp my strength up when I was in my bulk. Obviously, I got a shoulder injury as well. Like I said, I got 3 injuries back to back to back. So that kind of threw things off. It didn't allow me to ramp up my strength. But I think my OHP might be due for a PR as well. So I'm looking to hit PRs on OHP, on squat, and on bench in this cut. And I think I will hit all 3. Squat is going to take a while to build back up to, but OHP I think is probably there. And bench I think is for sure. I think it's just going to take some time to get back into the groove, but I think I'm going to hit PRs in all of those. My arms are surprisingly up now. This is just kind of, I've been hitting arms a little bit more hard than I was back then. I was just kind of throwing in arms at the end. So my arms are probably just a little bit more swollen, full of blood, as I'm consistently kind of working out every day. And in this time period, I was actually doing split workouts, so I didn't have that kind of accumulated, just growth that you get when you work arms every day. So, and arms fluctuate as well, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Chest is down a bit. Obviously, if I had a shoulder injury and I wasn't benching, that could have, impacted that to some degree. So that's why my chest would be down. My waist is actually up, so I don't know what's going on there. Could just be some fluctuations. If you look, like I said, at my peak lean body mass, the best muscle I've ever had, if you look at my left and right thighs, everything is pretty much even. It looks like it's a little bit down on the left, and then it's actually a bit up in like the lower thigh and stuff like that. So pretty much right around that same level of muscularity, have similar fat levels. And I'm just getting back into training. I'm just getting back into doing legs. So I haven't even been squatting yet. So I think after I kind of work on my legs a little bit more, I will reach all-time highs in terms of my muscle mass on my legs, which is something I look forward to. So those are the scan numbers. Now, in terms of, kind of how I'm approaching this whole thing, adding muscle and stuff like that. Again, guys, it is a mindset. If you go into a cut thinking that you're going to lose everything, and you train accordingly and you don't feel fired up, like when you're on the bulk and you're taking pre-workout and you're ready to go, you're like, I'm making gains. And when you just accept the reality that you're going to lose gains, you probably will. The mind is a very, very powerful thing. So I'm going into this, I know for a fact I'm going to hit some PRs. I don't know if I'm going to hit all my goals, but I'm going to hit some PRs. I'm very certain of that. I think I will hit all-time highs in terms of lean body mass. Now, I'm not going crazy on the cut yet. I'm not dropping my calories to a significant degree. I'm currently at about 4,000 calories a day, and I'm losing weight. I'm losing fat. So that's pretty cool. So I basically just went from sedentary lifestyle, low calories as I was injured. Then I ramped my calories up significantly, but then also started going to the gym every day and started to walk every day. So I'm able to lose weight on 4,000 calories. I'm also implementing, Gorilla Mind's fat burners. I'm doing the non-stim ones. Also, I'm doing Naringen for my Turkesterone. I've talked about that in other videos. So basically, my plan here is to have a really slow cut because I'm very impatient usually. I think over the course of this pandemic, I've learned a lot more patience, and I plan to have this cut be pretty prolonged. And it's going to take a while, but I do plan, like I said, to increase muscle, not decrease, and to hit PRs and just really get as shredded as I've ever been. Because usually when I cut, I don't ever get super, lean. I've never been all that lean in my life. This is going to be the time. I have a plan. I'm doing it slowly. I'm going to slowly decrease my calories, slowly increase my cardio, all that good stuff. I have a plan. And, I'm really trying to attack it here. And I think Turkesterone will help with that. So, if you guys have any more questions, I think I addressed a lot of the, cutting things and Turkesterone, how you can kind of build muscle in a deficit in general, but especially with Turkesterone, I think that can be the case. And it's all about attacking, certain areas. Some, before I was kind of focusing primarily on shoulders. I do plan to get my shoulders back over time, but for me, it's kind of like legs, and then to a lesser extent, my back. And so, eventually, I think I'm going to be at the leanest and the highest lean body mass and the highest strength, and everything's going to be firing on all cylinders. That's my plan. And it's going to take a while. It's not going to be overnight. And Turkesterone does take a little while to kind of kick in. If you look at my last example, it took about a month for me to start to see Turkesterone results. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if it's going to be that way, considering I am now starting at 6 capsules a day and I'm spreading them out. I don't know if it's going to take that long, but up to this point, after, a week or so, obviously I'm not like exploding in the gym, but I do plan to set PRs in everything. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'll keep you updated and I'll talk to you soon.